welcome to part two. We've covered the introductions, the individual introductions. This video is probably going to be a lot shorter, we hope, because there isn't a whole lot of like juicy stuff to cover yet. And I think that we have tons of that stuff um, lined up. So we definitely have ideas that are already down on paper, and so that'll be to come. So, but the who we are, what we are, we're on the what we are side of it. So, purpose of the channel. Like the idea that is there, powered by explosions. I think like we talked about it in the previous video. It's just like how, like when somebody comes to me personally, John, and says, "Hey, John, like, what are your hobbies? Like, what are you into?" My answer has always been like, if it uses gasoline, electricity, or gunpowder, it's exciting to me. And three of those things result in some iteration of ideally controlled and purposeful explosion. I guess the same thing could be said about electronics. It's just less of a purposeful thing when that happens. But yeah, so we kind of talked about how, Derek is generally tends to be far more on the informative side on his videos for his dedicated channel. Mine just generally tends to be sort of self-dialogue and or storytelling. And then so combining the two on the subject matters of things that we all have interest in, which is, automotive stuff. So motorcycles, cars, power sports, jet skis. I'm not super into dirt bikes and off-roading necessarily, but I think Derek spent some time on that. I saw him do a backflip on a dirt bike. Um,
That's where we cut this little clip in, like,
yeah, right here, put it here. And we're back. What'd you think? So anyway,
I still have the bruise on my leg a year and a half later.
yeah. Um, yeah, so motorcycles, cars, power sports, and then firearms. Like for a number of years, Derek, whenever he answers the phone, he'll be like, John, guns. John is a fairly common name, so I've got a couple of different names that we'll go by. But yeah, like I was into firearms for quite some time. It was job related for a while, and then now it's very much just hobby and um, I don't know, education and collector stuff. And then Derek's recently started picking up some guns. So yeah, I mean that's my thought on what the channel is going to be about. Thoughts from either of you?
Yeah, I mean that pretty well covers it, I think. Like John mentioned, I'm fairly new into the guns game, so I'm still learning techniques and getting more familiar with different aspects of cartridges and things. Actually, today I just shot a 30-30 for the first time. Likewise for 10 millimeter and 308 Win, but 30-30 I'd been thinking about since I just picked up my first lever action gun.
Yeah. Hey, what did you think of the 10 mil, by the way? What did you shoot it out of first?
Oh God, I'm trying to remember what it was. The guy let me try a few different pistols that he had. I was out at one of the public ranges off Highway 26, um, but I forget what it was. He had a CZ, he had a SIG, he had a bunch of different things. I forget which one was the 10 millimeter, but it was fairly pleasant to shoot. It was less jarring than my 1911 in 45 ACP for sure.
Really?
Mm,
So you had to have been shooting it out of a heavier gun then, like a full size
yeah,
something. Okay. So a little bit of history on here, and apologies for anyone that this is redundant to. Um, so first off, both of you guys have shot the Glock 26, the subcompact 9 millimeter Glock. That Glock is available in a Glock, I think it's a Glock 27, or it's either 27 or 29, I don't remember. Their nomenclature is all jacked up, but is the same exact gun, same physical dimensions, looks identical. If you lay them down side by side, um, and like a novice, like either one of you, if I said which one of these is a Glock 26, you would say both of them. Um, anyway, that said, one is 9 mil, the other is 10 mil, and there is a significant difference on how it feels. So the history of that, though, is that I want to say it was the FBI. I know for sure it was the FBI, but I want to say that the situation that they got in was there was like some type of engagement that they had with some guys that the situation wasn't going well, and excuse me, they found that there was a problem with the 9 millimeter underperforming against harder targets, like force on force engagement, where the the opposing side was armored in some way, and so they said, "Hey, we need something that performs way better than 9 mil, which was standard issue at the time." And so people got to work on it, and they said, "All right, well, here's the 10 mil." And so they went through the FBI trials, and they said, "Wow, the what we're sacrificing in comfort of shooting, um, for the performance, it's not worth it." And so the 10 mil was, for its original purpose, was abandoned. And so, but it continued its life um, as more of like a I think the common thing that I saw it used for after that was people were using it for semi-auto applications for like hunting purposes, like a sidearm in a hunting application. It's like, okay, we took this deer down. Now, like, we've had to track it. It wasn't a kill shot. Here's the deer right in front of us. Use the 10 mil. So, anyway, yeah, that's the history of 10 mil. But most people, like, I've actually owned a couple of things in 10 mil. Granted, they were in a subcompact package, and it was so unpleasant that it was a novelty that just wasn't even fun. And so, or cost effective for that matter. And so, yeah, 10 mil doesn't really have a home on my shelf.
Well, see, this is the weird thing is I think even the 9 in subcompact was so unpleasant with my first experience. That's why I was okay going to a 1911 in 45 because that felt less uncomfortable than the 9 in a subcompact.
Sure. Okay, fair enough. A decent 1911 in 45 is actually in every person that I've encountered, um, states it as a fairly pleasant thing to shoot. So, as far as shooting a firearm, I mean, but okay, cool. Heidi, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you want to bring to the channel? What do you want to accomplish for the channel? Like, you gonna get YouTube famous or?
No, probably not. I can't really contribute to gun talk, and that's okay for now, I guess. To gear away from this, that you guys actually like to talk about are electronics and the ecosystem of electronics. John has many ecosystem. Derek's Apple loyalist. I am a Samsung loyalist. And what that really means is a lot of my devices are just connected to the Samsung ecosystem, and that's just been the bread and butter for a really long time. Phones, watches, the car dashboard, Android. And something I'm also excited about coming out soon are the Samsung Rings. I'm probably going to give those for a go. So that's going to be fun. And John will probably have a TED talk about all the Samsung Rings, and it'll be great. Um, as of lately with the Samsung ecosystem and my experiences with it, is it hasn't been the best to me lately, like at all. Um, I end up I may end up just changing it to be altogether. And I'm probably not going to go Apple, even though it might be the logical choice. I know, I see you there. um, yes, that's where I'm at. And I'm going to popcorn pass this to Derek so he can defend his Apple loyalist here. Actually, I have a sticker for you, Derek.
Oh, nice.
It's in my car. It's an Apple nonetheless.
Oh,
Oh,
so when you buy like certain Apple products, they come with apples.
Every product, every
Yeah.
product.
We got some out of the Mac Mini, and it was just like, "Do you want this?" She's like, "No." Yes. So
I have a use for this.
yeah.
I was gonna stick it on his car so you guys can have matching Apple stars. I know he'd be so happy about that. You think?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
Sounds
gonna be like, yes, that's a good spot for it. Right on the back window.
oh gosh. Well, to expand on that, yes, I am an Apple loyalist. I've got my Apple Watch on. I'm actually using an iPhone 13 Pro as my camera for these videos. Uh,
It looks
I
good.
do. Yeah, great video quality out of it. Just amazing. By the way, shout out to the program Camo, which is what's enabling me to use this as a video camera. Wonderful software. The creator is extremely generous in offering it for free with most of the features enabled. So shout out to Camo. Use that if you want an awesome webcam. Um, but I'm not strictly an Apple loyalist. I try to take a very measured view on when they screw up and when they do things wrong, which Apple does do things wrong more regularly than they used to these days. I'm very salty about the new system preferences on macOS. That's not happy about that. Um, but I'm also a big Linux person, so all of my standard workday is pretty much spent inside of a Linux terminal. Mostly these days I'm dealing with Ubuntu, but also a lot of historically CentOS or other Red Hat flavored distros. And I am a huge proponent of ZFS. Like, I could rant on this for a while, but you have no idea if your data is safe unless it's on a file system that actually checksums the data, which very, very few file systems do. So,
We may be losing some people here a little bit on the subject matter. ZFS is a file system that is very, very handy for, in my experience, larger, medium to large scale storage. And so that's what Derek's talking about there.
yeah, it's very much a medium scale file system.
I wouldn't trust it for big stuff or
No, it's super trustworthy for large data sets. The problem is it doesn't scale as well as some other solutions like
I was going to say like commercial application. I don't for like big commercial application. I don't know. We use ZFS here in the house for a long time, just simply because the performance was really good for what it was. You can cache quite a bit off of the RAM, and so anyway.
yeah, it does that automatically.
Yeah.
ZFS is wonderful. Use it.
Okay. So quick question, and I don't want to derail us off to like into its own separate subcategories or anything like that, but you're talking about the Camo app, so check that out, Derek. Maybe pop in on this video and drop a link to what you're talking about there. But isn't that something that they incorporated directly into the operating system at this point? Like an Apple
Yeah.
device just inherently acts as a webcam? Okay. And so
Yeah.
why Camo over that?
So the reason for that is more flexibility. If you are in a situation where you want to use your iPhone or your Android as the webcam, you can just switch seamlessly between. I could unplug this, I could plug in an Android with Camo running, and my video source would switch over. The interface is the same on macOS or Windows.
Okay, so this isn't exclusively a macOS application.
No,
Okay,
I actually found it when I was helping a friend get set up for video game streaming,
I see. Okay.
and I was so impressed that I started using it for all of my personal video calls at home.
Is it your microphone as well?
Yeah,
Okay, it's
we're
doing a really
actually
good job.
Okay. Okay. I'd actually kind of want to try it out. Whenever I get my phone back. Thanks, Samson.
yeah. There we go.
I'm not going to get into that.
Derek and I have not been at war. It's not that. As said, like in the prior video, is that Derek and I like have the same end goal often, but you know how they say, "Oh, it's not about the destination; it's about the journey." Derek and I always want to wind up at the same place, I think, but our journeys are very different. Like had it been had he and I set off from the Shire and off to Mordor to go dump a ring, it would have been two very different movies. You would have had Derek's version of the movie and John's version of the movie as as to how we would have gotten there. So, but that said, I do want to give you some acknowledgement here that I don't know if I said anything to you about this the other day. So, we picked up the Mac Mini because we wanted to get into Final Cut specifically at a reasonable price point that performance, does really well. Um, so here's something that bugged me a little bit. After we got it, they sent me a survey, and so Heidi and I were actually dealing with the Apple stuff, and that had its own challenges on site. But they sent a
Oh, I
survey.
wish I could have recorded that one. That was livid.
They sent us a survey that said, "How did David do?" David was the salesperson. David, by the way, David Washington Square in what is that, Tigard, Oregon?
Yeah.
Okay, Tigard, Oregon Mac Store. Um, Excellent job. Shout out to David. But they asked me how did David do. I gave him a 5 out of 5 star, whatever the rating was. I gave him the maximum, and they said, "Do you have a couple of minutes to take an extended survey?" And I said, "Sure, I could do that." And I think the first question that they asked me was, "Of the following," and it's a list, "which of these Apple products do you own?" And I was kind of upset because as it goes through, it's like Mac, and I was like, "Yep." iPad, "Yep." iPhone, "Yep." AirPods, "Yep." Apple Watch, "Yep." And I was like, once it gets to the bottom of the list, I was, damn it, I've clicked everything. I've owned, like I do currently or have owned all of it. Derek cannot win. Like, so, um, yeah. So it was like Apple TV, and I was like, not no mo. I sold that to Derek, which, anyway, but
And
it's like,
also,
yeah, I sold him that watch too. So, but that's the point though, is that I've got AirPods on the wall. I've got a Mac right here. I've got an iPhone right there. I've got an iPad Pro and an iPad Air right there. Like, uh, I'm not a huge fan of Apple products. Anyway, no, to Heidi's comment. So actually, high level. Let's get into that for just a quick second. This isn't just powered by explosions. I mean, the idea is powered by explosions. It's going to be firearms, motorcycles, cars, power sports, things of that nature. But we'll probably cover any other number of topics that are interesting to us that are generally interesting to someone. Um, so stuff that we find interesting, and everyone here is like into toys. Like, I mean, this is America anyway. Like, everyone's into toys. We're a very, yeah, instant gratification sort of country that likes our gadgets and devices and things of that nature. So we'll probably cover that. Heidi, I was following that. Samsung is releasing a Ring. The only other major player in the sort of the health devices, tracking devices for rings is Aura. And Heidi and
I
I
got one of
actually,
those.
yeah, both own
Yeah.
those. The problem is that their latest generation of the device is behind a paywall. In order for the device to actually function, after you spend $400 on the device, the only way for the device to continue functioning is to pay a monthly subscription to use the app.
6.99.
Right.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a challenge there, and it doesn't give you super solid information. It's more high level of like, you get a score. It's just like, oh, maybe work out more. It's like, yeah, but why? Why work out more? Like, oh, your temperature was a little different. Okay, what was my temperature? And it doesn't really get into that. So I'm really excited to see what Samsung comes up with. Um, you're right. Heidi and I have a very, very Samsung centric ecosystem. But yeah, no. All right. Anyway, that's kind of it. Automotive stuff and probably occasionally electronics, mix of entertainment, storytelling, ridiculousness, ASMR tutorials. Um, yeah, I guess that's that.
well, and again, like you said in the last video, please comment whatever sounds cool. What would you like us to talk about? Uh, John's mentioned we have a fairly diverse knowledge base here. We also know some other people that have huge depth of knowledge about things that, we can rope them in for conversations occasionally and maybe provide another level of information if people need that.
Right, and I think a good way to say that, what you're conveying there, Derek, is that um, almost, I don't want to say almost any topic, but there are lots of generalizations of various different topics that you could have, be it just like a product or knowledge or a subject matter or philosophy or whatever, that is just 1 or 2 degrees of separation away from something else. And so, like when we talk explosions, like what is that? Is it gunpowder? Is it gasoline? Yes. Okay, it's gasoline. Is it cars? Is it trucks? Is it motorcycles? Is it? Yes. And so yeah, we obviously ourselves bring a fairly um, expansive, at least opinion, if not expertise, on these various different subject matters. But this is the introduction video where it's just like, hey, here's who we are, here's what we're trying to do. But we would love to have conversations where someone teaches us something, where we debate, especially even if we are coming from two very different viewpoints, for the sake of debate. So yeah, entertainment, education, we'd love to cover all of that. I would actually would love to. I don't know about you guys. I would love to have someone on that can tell us about something that we just like, it's like, okay, we're into motorcycles, and this person tells us about this one particular history of a motorcycle, and it's the why it's important and things. I would love to have sessions like that where we talked about something with someone who is incredibly knowledgeable and passionate about it. I think that would be really neat.
Yeah,
Or
that'd be awesome.
tell us why we're wrong. So, yeah.
Yep. Try to stay open. There's always more to learn, and everyone has more knowledge about different things. So,
Yep. Cool. Anything else we're going to talk about?
yeah. So we've mentioned firearms, all the power sports things. If we can get a source for like dynamite or grenades, that could be cool too. But we'll see what we can find.
Anyway, yeah. Oh, I guess there's something else that we should probably say, and maybe this is something that could have been further, near the beginning of the video content. Is I think that everyone here is fairly generally, has a good heart, as far as what they're trying to convey. But it is very likely, I would bet, that either in humor or by accident, that we may step on someone's toes regarding some subject matter or not. So yeah, like the idea is that this is going to be mostly family friendly or whatever. But like, I think it's probably, in my take, is that I think it's probably a good idea that we avoid like in the history of our videos, unless maybe not. I don't know. Like if it's incredibly important to us, let's get into it. But I think it will probably avoid like really polarizing stuff. Like, I mean, like we absolutely should talk about, Chevy versus Ford or something like that. That's polarizing. But like, I don't know that I want to get super into politics or anything like that. We're everyone here enjoys for some reason or another firearms. We're absolutely about guns and gun ownership. I think we're absolutely not about mass shootings and the horrors that happen in the country. And I think that we would probably all agree that something should change, but in a way that is both meaningful but not infringing or overstepping. So yeah, so like I don't know that that needs anything more to go into it right now. So if this isn't for you, it's possible that that's the case. If you love motorcycles and hate the idea of personal firearm ownership, I don't know. I think we'll do a good job about titling what it is that we're doing. So I hope we're not exclusive of someone because of the broader spectrum of everything that we'll be talking about.
Yeah. Likewise, I don't think digging too much into the political side of things is a great time for many people. There's enough YouTube channels about that. You can go and rage about it all day long. We just want to have fun here. Apologies if we do say something out of line.
And call us out on it, probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm more than willing to own up to it, and I think everyone here is as well. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, Derek, I'm gonna say something polarizing. Honestly, I think the reason Derek has like Heidi and I along is because he needed an Asian person for a broader scope of audience, and Heidi is a redhead, so
Hitting all the minorities, I see. You're gonna get us canceled with that crap. Don't do that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Do we want to wrap it here? Do we get into something at the start of the video that you will not see because we're going to cut it? But it was mentioned in the prior video, something really, really morbid. Talk about it and don't talk about it. Sub-subject, yes, no? What are your thoughts?
In the end, we decided that we were not going to cover that subject matter. So this is an after the fact. I'm actually doing some just trimming of the video in post. The short version, there was an accident in a California park. There was a woman who was run over by a lawnmower. There are a lot of details that are still not known. And so there were some thoughts and things that we had about that subject matter. But we decided maybe now's not the best time to talk about it. There's a lot of unknown. So we just kind of end the video here. Stick around for the next one. This was essentially our introduction. We're going to be doing podcast-based content. We're going to be doing content-based content, informative, like tutorial, how-tos, questionnaires, just discussion, and then our own little projects or shenanigans that we get up to. So, thanks for hanging out with us. We will catch you next time.